The following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Wednesday, the 24th of February, 2016 are currently trading with gold at $1,238.20 an ounce, silver $15.28 an ounce, Texas crude $31.87 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently sitting at about 423 U.S. currency. Today in history, the year 303, the great persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire signed an edict by Emperor Diocletian, in effect stripping the legal rights of Christians and demanding that they comply with the traditional Roman religious practices of the day. In recent news, the State Stop Criminal Court dismissed criminal charges against Rick Perry for his 2003 threat to veto state funds to the Travis County prosecutors. The charge itself, it was ruled 6-2, violated the Texas Constitution's separation of power provision by limiting the governor's veto authority. Presiding Judge Sharon Keller stated that the governor's power to exercise a veto may not be circumscribed by the legislature, the courts, or the district attorneys. When the only act that is being prosecuted is the veto, then the prosecution itself violates the separation of powers. The court has also dropped a secondary felony charge of coercion of a public official as a violation of free speech right. The International Monetary Fund stated today that the global economy is highly vulnerable to adverse shocks and is calling on the United States and other major governments to prepare contingency plans that could be used to stimulate and boost growth. IMF is strongly suggesting that the world's 20 largest economies should keep pursuing strategies for growth, though they did suggest that they should develop additional measures that could be implemented immediately if economic growth continues to slump. With the IMF suggesting governmental spending as a means of stimulus, it's hard to take the Treasury Secretary Jacob Lewis's statement serious when he stated that it's not the job of the finance ministers and central banks and governors to accelerate a crisis. It's their job to avoid one. Yeah, sure. MasterCard has announced plans to introduce Selfie Pay to more than a dozen countries, a program that is part of MasterCard's plan to implement biometrics as a form of security authentication. The idea is simple. Users will take selfies through their app, and the image will be stored into a company server. Every time anyone will want to make an online purchase with their credit or debit card, they will be prompted to look into the phone's camera so that the image can be digitally matched and compared against the selfie on file, effectively changing the selfie for the traditional password. This was your lowdown for February 24th, 2016.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I have a joke for you.
Okay.
The government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
Pay attention. I didn't see it coming. The moment it comes with the food. Bitcoin is immune from attack almost completely. But Bitcoin, you actually gain far more from using the computing power to generate Bitcoin.
There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for it to disappear. There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for it to disappear.
We'll walk deeper into the belly of the beast if it means I'm able to further limit reckless government spending. I mean, I have so many ideas. Some are simple, like take down traffic lights and eliminate the post office. The bigger ones will be tougher, like bring all of this crumbling to the ground.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Crypto Show, a show dedicated to understanding the promise, currency, technology, and liberty in the pursuit of a free society. And if you believe like we do that such a society can and should exist, then join us, why don't you, as we parade through a world unbound by convention, a world sketched by the beauty of the human artist. Because each and every one of you listening right now is that artist. So for the next 2 hours, let go of your most sacred system of thought and entertain the possibility that maybe, just maybe, everything you've been told about currency, technology, and yes, even that dirty little word anarchy is only one part of an ever-expanding, ever-possible, complex universe of ideas, one that we simply refuse to explore. So what do you say, listeners? Let's do some universe exploring tonight and have some fun while we do it.
Blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
That is still, I know it's cliche to say that it's still one of my favorite movies, probably top 5. Jared, you've seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah, all three of them.
He's
in
The
Matrix.
No, he's in the Subway commercials.
Although I've
the one
been
touching the children.
So when I, when I used to, before I had a beard, I used to, if anyone thought I looked like someone, it was like 90% of the time it was Jim Carrey. Since I have a beard, anytime someone thinks I look like someone, it's always Keanu Reeves.
I kind of see that.
They say it's the eyes.
Yeah, well, you are a really handsome guy, and they're both pretty handsome guys. And that's not just
hitting on the guest.
Me hitting on you. No, but I mean,
don't stop this.
I kind of like it.
I'm enjoying it.
No, but I think it's because, I mean, I want to say Keanu Reeves has a fuller face, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really got it as much. I see the Jim Carrey, like, I don't know with
I definitely see the Jim Carrey because I picture you without your, especially when your hair is a little bit long, like when your hat's off.
Yeah.
I can see kind of Jim Carrey, yeah.
I see that. I never really got the Keanu Reeves, but I've been getting it a lot lately with the beard, so I'll take it. But yeah, no, I've seen all the
tall,
Matrixes.
dark, and handsome. Well,
so that van that you live in down by the river, does it have big floppy puppy dog ears?
I wish. Mock. Yeah.
And birds. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Mocking. Sorry, I just couldn't remember the words, but yeah, Dumb and Dumber, right?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time, I have to say.
It's like right after they make a scene at the diner, and I think Jim Carrey like pushes the guy's, like beats up that guy or makes him pay for his meal or whatever, and they're driving away. Yeah, I saw that in a movie once. And he goes, "Oh, did they get away?" And he's like, "No, they caught up to him about half mile down the road and slit their throats."
That's such a. I mean, as much slapstick and lowbrow humor as there is in there, some of it's pretty like clever, like that. You know what I mean? I mean, that's like
highbrow for Jim Carrey, but I like Jim Carrey's humor, so I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, no, maybe it's not the most intellectual humor, but still, like it's clever witty stuff.
Yeah, and he's in some good, like some more clever movies that he never got credit for as much. I think
that's true.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind's a really good movie,
which I've never seen. I hear it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, you'll have to watch it a few times, or well, I don't know, I did, but I'm an idiot. So
you know another good one. Have you seen The Truman Show?
Yeah, of course.
Did you know that? Well, it may seem obvious when I say it. The Truman Show and The Matrix have a lot in common. Because in the Truman Show, his whole life is a television production. Mm-hmm. Everything is stage managed, literally on a stage. It's fake. It's this enclosed, encapsulated microcosm from which he cannot escape. He eventually does, of course, just like Neo eventually does. And what's more is that there are, if you watch the movie closely, both movies have, and I know we're kind of getting maybe off topic from what we want to talk about, but we got 2 hours.
No, this is basically Bitcoin talk.
Yeah, this is totally Bitcoin talk. Don't you get it, guys? If you can't put two in Bitcoin together. But both have elements of ancient Greek Gnosticism, which is this both a catch-all word for basically around the time of Christ and the rise of Christianity. And really it's a little bit older than that, but it kind of came to full development. There was this Greek belief system called Gnosticism that's sort of an inversion of Judeo-Christianity, where basically the creator God, instead of being good and benevolent, is evil. And there is a sort of savior God, much like in Judeo-Christianity, but he is the reverse of that person within Judeo-Christianity.
All of that from a Subway sandwich?
Exactly. Wow. But anyway, so you see elements of it. For instance,
down the wormhole. We went deep down that wormhole, didn't
we? For instance, Neo is the one, he's prophesied to come. The Matrix is an illusion, right? The real world is out there and you have to escape to the real world. He even basically gets reincarnated. And that idea of reincarnation is also within Gnosticism. Once he goes to the source is also a phrase out of Gnosticism / Kabbalah. He meets the architect, which in Masonry, the creator God is the great architect of the universe.
That's the old woman in the movie, right?
No, that's the Oracle.
That was the Oracle.
Come on, the architect's the guy with the beard, in that television room.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting though that I'm not going to talk any longer about this, but when you dig deep not even that deep into Hollywood movies, when you just look beneath the surface and look at little clues that they present, and sometimes even with the Truman Show, the clues aren't really that, if you know what you're looking for, hard to find. You'll find that they're telling these same handful of stories over and over in Hollywood. Because Hollywood is founded by people who subscribe to some rather strange belief systems. So
another show I've been watching, The 100. I'm kind of curious if that was written by someone libertarian or anarchist leaning a little bit.
Way to bring it back around.
Yeah. So I was kind of fun thought to throw in there. So if people want to watch it, I really enjoyed the series. There's 2 seasons on Netflix, and the third one's in action right now. But I'm not sure. I can see there's some status stuff, like arguments in there as well, but I kind of think that maybe the writers, at least some of them, are libertarian leaning just by some of the conversations. Earth is uninhabitable due to atomic bombs and whatnot, and some of them go up into space to maintain the species, and then they're waiting for Earth to become inhabitable, and eventually they send a select few down to Earth to see if they can survive.
You mean 100 of them?
100 of them specifically, but you find out that there's other people already down there. But the point is, the 100 that get down there, they basically form the grounds of a new society in their minds. So you kind of see what people's perspectives of what anarchy might look like by the way the writers convey kind of the lawlessness that occurs right upon them reaching Earth.
Basically, it's like setting the clock back to the beginning of humanity in a way.
Yeah.
And then finding elements of anarchism develop as basically human civilization reasserts itself.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like 700 partygoers getting on airplanes and flying to Acapulco.
Is that how many people
Were there that
roughly
many?
came? 700?
Yeah, it was pretty well packed.
I was hoping for parties on the beach and stuff like that afterwards. Does that go down? Or?
Yeah, there were still. I've noticed that they're still partying there. So it's not
Are they still really?
Yeah.
Wow, they know how to do it down there.
It's like they amped up the party going after
we left.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, those guys are downers. Let's wait till after.
Yeah,
Well,
we have some really cool stories that kind of happened on the way back. We'll kind of get into that in the next segment.
Oh, did you see my Facebook, Jared?
No.
Okay, good. Then this will be a surprise to you.
Okay, good, because now
I didn't see your Facebook either. Will it be a surprise to me?
Well, no, because you were there.
well, it might be. I mean, you don't know what he put on his Facebook. If it was what you experienced, it could have been totally inaccurate. So
That's
maybe
true.
it's a surprise for all
I
of
have
us.
these privacy settings where some people see one thing and other people see another, just to confuse them all.
I think for a moment in time, I thought maybe that sort of activity would be good, but then I realized it got way too hands on to try and omit people from seeing this and not. Then I was like,
But
I'll
it's
just
worth it.
throw it all out there.
Being the wizard behind the what is the Wizard of Oz reference? The man behind the curtain, being
Something
the man
like that.
behind the curtain, pulling the strings and manipulating everyone on Facebook. Because that makes you feel like you're a god on Facebook.
And I guess if you feel like hearing the story again, you can tune in tomorrow on LRN to Ernie Hancock's show. We're supposed to be on Ernie Hancock's Declare Your Independence tomorrow at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Central, way early in the morning. I don't usually get up till many hours after that. Oh, and by the way, we're coming to break here in like 3 minutes, but we're also going to talk. We're going to talk about our harrowing experience in Acapulco.
Not so much in Acapulco, but after leaving Acapulco.
No one leaves Acapulco either.
And we're going to make some racist statements.
We're going to make some racist statements. We're going to be trying to be bigoted as possible in other ways too. We're also going to talk to Jared at some point about what he's up to, and we've talked about this with him before, and it's a really interesting topic. It's an education kind of group / website forum that he's involved in. Well, he's taking it on the road and basically taking it across the country, and this sounds really exciting. And what is it? Wait, hold on. Free CAD.
Yeah,
CAD.
I know Danny or Neanderthal or whatever you go by now.
I'm Neanderthal.
Near Neanderthal. Okay, that I get it more. Okay, Danny, what were you?
That means
Something.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I guess if I disclose it on air, we'd kind of ruin that for you. It's not Free a Cat, which Danny has mistaken before. It's Free Acad, as in Free Academy. So FREEACAD.com. You can check it out.
Free Academy.
Anyone can be a member, join, sign in, share.
Is this
what
a
you want.
Bernie Sanders thing where people go to get free stuff?
No, well, it is free. So but it's far more free than anything Bernie Sanders is promising. Since he's of course got to steal all the money to give it away and call it free. But
steals all the money for the people.
he's got to steal way more than he gives back, and then he calls it free. So
Why do you hate the poor? Why do you hate the children?
I don't hate the poor. I think technically I am poor.
He just hates poor children.
Okay, there you go. Just that one subsection. Why are you apologists for the rich and the powerful?
I know. Just keep going because there's more.
Ridiculous.
The
There's more, definitely.
the Feel the Burn has far more to say.
The burn is going straight up the bottom end, if you know what I'm saying, and there's a lot longer way to go.
I do find it funny, though. All the people writing Bernie's coattail because he was different are going to flip and vote for Hillary. And I've seen an aggressive push by the people in I'll just reference my Facebook feed. I don't want to make this like a broader social statement, but my Facebook feed, all the Feel the Burners are all saying if you don't vote Hillary, if she's the one who squeaks through, then you're starting World War III with Donald Trump.
That's ridiculous. I mean, they may be right about World War III with Donald Trump, but
Hillary will do the same.
Hillary, yeah.
She's a war hawk too. I mean,
she'll just start it like a day later.
What difference does it make?
None.
Okay.
Same difference. I always loved that phrase, oxymoron. Same difference.
I mean, Byrne voted to fund all these wars.
Byrne voted to come to break, so we'll be right back.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
This is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops. Come on. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot.
I'm sick of people being victimized by criminal cops. Psychopathic predators terrorizing neighborhood blocks. Equipped with pepper spray mace.
And welcome back to the Crypto Show. We're sitting here with Jared Reyes and some big guy missing in action. Go ahead and finish it. What you were saying about the van.
Well, so we got distracted on some Bernie Sanders talk there for a little bit, but so my buddies and I, we're affiliated with this. Well, anyone can be. It's really just a community we're trying to build online, thefreeacademy.com, the Free Academy, which you can find at freeacad.com. And it's just a site where anyone can get involved. The community's growing, which is exciting for us. You can create a membership for free. And really, it's just a forum. I mean, I don't want to make it more grandiose than it is. It's just a forum of people, primarily libertarians and anarchists who are post what they find to be interesting and, share what they find to be interesting. Or there's a lot of, writing by members of us.
And this is like cat videos, right?
There are actually some cat photos on there. For a while, we did a daily cat photo because who doesn't like photos of cats? But not freeacat.com, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
That was actually, the URL was way more expensive for
Free a Cat.
For Free a Cat. Turns out people are really into that. PETA bought up so many URLs.
Is that for real?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't check freeacat.com, but
that's really sad that when people's priorities are reflected in the price such that the price differential such that they care way more about cats than real education. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like I said, I can't hate on the game too much. I did start posting cat photos on the site just because who hates cat photos?
You're brainwashed.
No, everyone loves humor.
Why does everyone love humor? Is it because
it makes them feel better?
It's natural, or because we've been brainwashed?
I think laughter just feels good.
Come on, Jared.
Laughter feels good.
Don't be a fool, man.
Dig deeper.
Laughter's the best medicine. That's what they want you to think, because it kills you slowly. It's like worse than cigarettes, man.
Yeah.
Don't patronize me. Don't humor me. Get it? Humor me.
But we're doing that, and then we're going to hit the road actually on Friday and do I think a loop of the U.S. I mean, we're kind of winging the trip, but we have a rough plan to head east and go up the East Coast and head across to the West Coast and then hit through Central USA on the way back. So
are you just hitting the biggest cities, or is there any kind of other strategy to where you're going?
Really just the cities that we want to hit, which most of them are the biggest cities, but there's a few, they're basically, probably if you think about the most popular few cities in a lot of the states, that's basically what we're hitting.
Right.
Yeah. And along the way, we're going to, try and sell some books that we've written and hit a lot of open mic nights and hopefully make some people laugh and have a good time and talk a little bit about anarchy and the Free Academy, and we'll see what happens.
They're not written in crayon, are they?
The books?
Yeah.
Why is that?
No, I was just curious.
I mean, I self-published it. What do you want from me?
No.
I used blue, right? Who hates blue or magenta or indigo?
Actually, apparently blue is supposed to be better to memorize things with. Apparently, this is what we learned in Change Media University there in Acapulco, is when you write something down in blue, it's easier to memorize what you wrote rather than black.
See?
Really?
There you go. See, I
never would have thought that.
I mean, just put me up there, with the Hemingways, just write it down. Put me in the history books already, because I wrote in blue. So my stuff's, I'm going to live on forever, boys.
Forever and ever.
Ever.
And so how long is the circuit around the Americas supposed to be?
We're not certain because we're winging it. We're going to go to a city. We're none of us is in a particular rush to get back. We don't have any deadlines per se. So we're just going to kind of hit a city and feel it out. If there's a lot of cool stuff to do and we're having a good time, we'll stay longer. If we don't really run into some trouble pretty quickly, we'll probably ship out and that sort of thing.
Well, if you're planning on traveling to Mexico, bring lots of toll money.
Toll money, or but we're talking like bribe?
You're going to both actually. Yeah. Because
it's hard to know which is more expensive, though.
Yeah.
The toll booths are more expensive than the fuel.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So, to finish up on the loop, and then you guys can ask questions, or we can move on to your Acapulco story, whatever you guys want to talk about. But so we're doing the loop. If you guys want to follow along, you can follow me on Instagram at Jared Reyes Journeys. I'll be posting stuff there. I have a YouTube channel under the same name. You can check our content there, or just check out Free Acad. But we're really excited about it. And then my buddy Michael's will be posting lots of stuff on Free Acad and everything as well. And
Michael was in Acapulco and he had a cool speech, so we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, he was actually down there. He got he spoke and sold his book down there and had a really good time. And
it's Michael Fielding, right?
Fielding.
I always want to say Hastings, but Fielding makes more sense because y'all actually lived in a field.
We did live in a field. Well, there was trees. When I picture, that's a good question. When you picture a field, does it have trees?
I guess typically
not.
Are
you picturing like a prairie, where it's like this wide open grassland?
I typically think of like a treeless meadow or prairie or something. Yeah. But it can be a field if it's sparsely populated with trees, I suppose.
Yeah, like if there's like one or two, it looks a lot more like a field. But
I don't know if that's technically true. But
well, I always found it funny because we say we lived in the woods, and we did, but it is like a 200. When I said we lived in the woods and I would always say within Austin city limits, in the hopes that would like make it more tangible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because outside of Austin,
we're in the forest, in the wilderness.
Well, a lot of people don't even know necessarily what is outside of Austin, even if they've lived here a long time. And then just everyone has that sense of that sort of binary sense of, well, if you're not in the city, you're out in the middle of no man's land.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
oh, well, that's nothing. You're out in the middle of no man's land. Okay.
Yeah, no. So I say it's like a 200-acre patch of woods, but it had lots of trees. Very, very densely treed, I guess. But it's funny to hear people's reactions when you tell them that, what they visualize. When you say woods, like everyone's like, okay, so you live. I was like, no, we live like 3 blocks from HEB. Like, we're fine. You know,
Well, people forget how green Austin still is. I mean, a lot of the green has gone away from development, but it's still there's plenty of wooded areas, or at least areas with trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the other major cities that I've lived in, I mean, maybe not compared to like the Pacific Northwest or something like that, but definitely compared to other cities in Texas, Austin is very wooded, even still. I mean, the Greenbelt, for example, there's just nothing like that anywhere near Dallas or in Fort Worth, the actual like Dallas proper, like in the city limits.
Right.
There's nothing.
And you don't have to go far for that.
Yeah, no, that's part of the reason I wanted to get out of there so bad, man. There's no free fun. There's no like outdoorsy stuff to do. I mean, you can drive really far and go to a lake, but that's about it.
So you grew up in Dallas, or? Yeah,
so I grew up in Arlington, and then I went to school here, did a lot of traveling, and then ended up in Dallas proper for like 2.5 years. But I really didn't. Dallas is a good city in the fact that, I mean, from an economic standpoint, if you want a job, that's your number one priority. You can get a job there. There's a lot of economic
True of
stuff.
Austin too, though.
Yeah, Austin definitely has that going as well. You'll probably get paid a little bit more in Dallas, and it's a little bit cheaper to live in.
Really?
Yeah. Rent rates in Dallas are much cheaper. In fact, Austin, I think I'm generalizing here, but my understanding is Austin's by far the most expensive major city to live in
I knew
Texas.
it was one of the ones up there, but I would have assumed Dallas would be the same. Now, Houston, I can understand because Houston is so spread out. In Houston, you can go through a rich neighborhood, and then literally right next to it is some like kind of slum area, or at least much less affluent area. And so,
it'll catch you off guard. You know, you whip a right turn, and then you're like, okay, where am I?
Oh crap!
But no, Austin's much more expensive than Dallas to live in general. Like if you're renting a place, well, I mean, if you're trying to live in Highland Park and have a mansion, then it's not cheap. But so yeah, that's kind of the trade-off. But I was dying to get out of Dallas because you can't have free fun there. You can booze it up. You can go to a restaurant. You can go pay for a show.
Oh yeah, they do have a good drinking scene, Deep Ellum or whatever.
Deep Ellum's okay, it's growing for sure. Like it's a really cool area. It's a very Austin-y area, but it's mostly vacant still. But I definitely think that's where a lot of growth is going to happen.
And what's the other one? There's like another street or something.
There's Bishop's Arts District, which is another really, really cool area. Henderson Street is a good one. Lower Greenville is a good one.
Maybe Greenville. I think it was
Uptown
Greenville.
is another one.
I think Greenville's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
See, you miss it so much. You're like being all nostalgic about it.
No, because if you guys, it sounds like there's a lot of places to go, but if you go there, you realize how spread out each one of those things is.
It is true. I went there when I was like 21, 22, and that's over a decade ago. And, and it was, of course, the famous part of town, or, the 6th Street or whatever. And it was pretty spread out. Like, it wasn't nearly like, because in Austin, I mean, you could just go down 6th Street one bar at a time for like miles.
Yeah.
Cut across to 4th Street or something.
And Dallas, you pick a bar or an area, you probably have 4 or 5 good bars to choose from, maybe, once you pick a spot. And then, if you're not really having that much fun there, if it's not hopping, you're pretty much stuck.
Yeah.
Or forced to Uber pretty far away. But you're not going to just walk to the next cool area. You've chosen your spot for the night, more or less.
And I don't know if Dallas has any bars that accept Bitcoin, whereas Handlebar in Austin, for instance, does.
They take Bitcoin?
Yeah.
No.
Or no, they have
they have an ATM.
Bitcoin ATM. Although I just assumed they took Bitcoin as well. I'm surprised they don't. No one set them up with that.
There were several bars and restaurants in Acapulco that actually did. I was surprised.
That's true.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd hope when 700 people are coming that are probably into that you would cater.
Somebody would try to make it happen in Acapulco.
Yeah, because then you're just going to get, that's the smart business move.
Yeah. By the way, if we say Bitcoin enough, we can make this Bitcoin show.
Is it going to be like...
We'll be right back, guys.
All right, bye.
Candy, soda, and cupcakes may please your taste buds, but did you know that binging on sugar can slow down your brain? I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll share new research showing how sweets may dumb you down next.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Attention sugar junkies, if snarfling sweets and guzzling soda is your thing, I've got some not-so-sweet news for you. A new study shows a diet high in fructose could make you dumber in just a few short weeks. UCLA researchers gave lab rats fructose in their drinking water while training them how to navigate a maze. After 6 weeks of sucking sugar, the dazed animals began to struggle. In fact, their overall brain function diminished noticeably. Still want that fudge sundae? Then eat plenty of foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Rats who ate omega-3s zipped through that maze much faster than those that didn't. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
Live Free Speech Radio, LogosRadioNetwork.com.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow?
Welcome back to the Crypto Show, guys, here on this lovely Wednesday, February something, I don't know, 2016, the week after in Acapulco. After the experience we had, time doesn't matter anymore. Dates don't matter. Jared doesn't matter.
We're just lucky to be alive.
Basically. And by the way, just to clarify for something off air, I think he was referring to me as far as not being here. Anyway, just wanted to clarify that for someone who's listening. But because I think they misunderstood who was being applied to. Anyway, we are talking with Jared Reyes of freeacad.org.
One day.
.com.
Freeacad.com.
Well, it should be .org. .com is so generic, and that makes it seem like a com for commercial website.
Or maybe it just makes it that much more impressive because we got the .com URL.
That's
the
true.
.org URL.
You weren't just relegated to the second level .org.
We didn't do the whole Internet of Things thing where we go .io, which those URLs are real.
That's true. Or what about .edu?
That would have been funnier, I think.
Because
more entertaining.
Yeah. Like because it's anti-education kind of, or unschooling, or like just contrary to establishment education, or what do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the initial brainchild of it was kind of in that vibe that, this systematic education in the U.S. isn't really doing a good job. But I mean, we definitely have people across the spectrum on that.
According to whose standards?
Good question.
But
according to my standards,
but Jared,
I'm just me.
I went to a public school and it was good.
I had a great time.
See, actually, real quick, and I don't want to get too deep into this. I do want to ask you a couple more questions about FreeAcad, and I definitely want to get to Acapulco. But by whose standards? I will tell you by whose standards.
I'll speak for me.
Go ahead.
I'll just speak for by my standards. I felt like while at times there was moments that it was definitely worthwhile, that overall, if I look at the time spent, it wasn't very efficient.
Right. Well, no, and sure, and like when I feel the same way. I mean, I went to private school. Of course, private schools are still heavily regulated by the state, use state curricula and all that. I mean, obviously use some non-state curricula for religion and stuff. But, and I went to UT, a state school. And of course, to be fair, a lot of times when we say like state universities, they do have a lot of private funding. So they're quasi-public private entities. Doesn't necessarily make it that much better. But where's my point? So, but by whose standards? So, and I had a good time. It's not like something is government run. It's not like there aren't still people. It's not like you still can't produce something. But by whose standards? By the standard of the counterfactual. In other words, a counterfactual is something that doesn't exist, but would exist hypothetically given different starting conditions. So in other words,
so like the alternative, basically,
alternative reality.
Yeah,
and this is used
compared to what could be is what you're
exactly.
Okay,
it's just a fancy phrase that's sometimes used in economics or philosophy to describe or to explore things that actually exist in reality by comparing them to what would exist in a potential reality. So in the potential reality, in the counterfactual of if we had a complete free market or even anywhere closer to a free market in education, the education would be miles better, wildly better. And to the extent that there are really good public schools out there, keep in mind too, the results might be fantastic. The results might be even better than any private school out there or even than the counterfactual, but here's the difference. You can't just look at the results. You have to look at the input as well as the output. So in other words, you can have, if the most fantastic public school ever, it's better than all the private schools, but it sucks up like 10 times as much resources as an equivalent private school would in a truly free market. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So you can send a man to the moon using a government program, but it spends 100 times what a private program would have spent. So does that mean you've really accomplished something? In a strict sense, yes. But when you look at the counterfactual, what all those resources could have been used for otherwise, could have been put towards alternative ends, when the fact that only a fraction of those resources would have been needed to produce the same results, given private actors with the profit motive who have to use their ingenuity rather than the government dole. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so that's by that is the standard ultimately by which you have to judge it. And what's great about that standard is it's objective, basically, because you're not necessarily saying, well, by so-and-so standards, you're basically comparing it to another possible reality. And maybe there's some subjectivity that could come in from there.
I would say I don't know if it's objective because the people who see the opposing view to what we're talking about would definitely project forward in a free market. They'll do the same counterfactual, but the free market that their mind creates would be way worse, which doesn't mean that's
you're
true.
Right, but they're wrong.
Right.
That's the difference.
Well, yeah, that's what I think. That's definitely what you think.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's like we can't know. It's
well, you can't sort of it's difficult to prove to somebody that it's not subjective, or difficult to make that argument because people are so adamant about their own ideology and position. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Well, there's that. Like, I don't know. I've been thinking more and more about whether or not if objective anything exists. Is this fun thought of like wave process I've been going through lately?
Were you in the Big Lebowski? Were you one of those German nihilists?
No, I'm not. Nihilists don't exist. That's what I think. Nihilists don't exist because they don't believe they would just kill themselves, right? Like it's like a self-fulfilling belief system.
If you think therefore you are, and you think you're not, then
you're not. You're gonna take care of it, right? There's nothing left to live for. But then maybe you don't believe in death, so who knows? Maybe you stay living. I mean, it's so hard.
It's a paradox.
Yeah, like nihilist that's like. But I assume no, like you'll never run into a nihilist because if you're truly a nihilist, you don't exist. Is kind of what I think.
I like that. That reminds me of some sort of weird like physics conjecture or something like. I can't remember what, but anyway.
Yeah, no. So I think. In the absence of education as we know it, and in a free market where these things could develop on their own, I think it would be at least much more time and money efficient. But I do understand that there's an existential portion to all this. I do have friends that enjoy college thoroughly. They thought it was a good use of time.
But they could have enjoyed it just as much in that hypothetical free market world.
That's what I say.
That's psychic profit. I'm factoring in psychic profit. I'm not just talking about financial profit or financial accounting here. I'm talking about real psychic profit that would be maximized in the free market versus the stunted public school. You know
no, I definitely agree. I think, but I do, like I said, I don't want to be the person to claim that I know better than they do what they would want.
I will.
And, and so from that aspect, I'll say if they say they really enjoyed it and they can't imagine it being a better experience. And I do have a couple friends that thoroughly enjoy, academia as it is. And I mean, with everything they could improve it, but the general structure they enjoy and they think it has its place. So I don't want to totally discount that, but I think it's completely mismarketed, right? And if it was admitted to be what it is, I would feel better about it. It can be as dysfunctional or as inefficient as I think it is currently if it was marketed correctly.
Right. If they keep owned up to it, but of course they never will because you can't.
Yeah. And also
you have to change the system that would hurt a lot of special interests.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's mismarketed and it's causing this mass rush to think that, if you don't go, you're never going to amount to anything. And that's really
never gonna get it. Never gonna get it. Maybe you're too young
That's the craziest part about the Bernie Sanders, like the free college thing, which all these, he's trying to get all the millennials on board. And I see them all over my Facebook feeds that like super excited about free college because they're in student loan debt and things like that. But I don't think college does much for human capital. It doesn't raise human capital. It's a signaling effect, meaning by finishing college, you're signaling to employers some set of traits, probably ability to abide by certain rules, probably time management skills, probably some perseverance, things like that.
And so you're signaling skills that you had probably prior to college, and that led you to go to college in the first place.
Yeah, so there's confounding factors.
Exactly. It's kind of a chicken and egg scenario.
No, I definitely agree. So there's a case to be made that says the people who go to college and graduate from college and then they go on to be successful, people link that to college. But there's a strong case to be made that says those people had certain characteristics to where they would have been successful in no matter whether they went to college or not.
Yeah.
And we can't, that's a hard thing to know.
That's a counterfactual that we're talking about. In other words, we can't necessarily know it in our reality because we can't separate it out from college, but using economic reasoning, using just other general reasoning, you can probably determine that those people were driven to begin with and went to college with a signaling effect like you talk about.
Yeah.
Rather than college being the cause.
Yeah. And so I think it's an interesting thing because if you think college is mostly a signal far more than increasing human capital, then what that would lead you to believe is incentivizing and paying for the school system to bloat even further and more people go. The thing is, think about it like a hurdle. Once everyone's jumping over the hurdle of college, a college degree, it becomes the new GED. And now to have the same signaling effect to employers, you got to get an MBA
or master's or
you got to get a
professional degree. Exactly.
The hurdle just keeps moving.
But we'll talk more because it gets cheapened. So we'll talk more with Jared and more about other things on the other side.
I don't want a chip in my veins. Stay out of our lives. Don't want no shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. I sit down with Big Brother. Shame on that Big Brother trying to track and trace me, and all you would tag the animals. And
all right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show here on this lovely Sunday of the year, Wednesday, February 24th, 2016, here on Logos Radio Network. Don't forget, is the Logos fundraiser still going on?
I don't know. We've been out of town.
Oh yeah, we've been out of touch quite a bit in many ways. So if it is still going on, I wouldn't know. But if it is, get out and donate. Go to locustradionetwork.com. Don't forget thecryptoshow.com/freeross. Donate directly to the Ross Ulbricht Appeals Fund, and you can also purchase or bid on some cool items that the proceeds of which will go to the Ross Ulbricht Appeals Fund as well. Don't forget our sponsors, Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements as well. And I want to switch gears here in just a moment, but I want to make one last comment. We're going to talk about Anarchapulco coming up. I also want to add that a friend of ours has come into the studio. He's been here before. I forget.
John.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, John. I didn't actually forget that, but he's back with us, joining us for, well, at least a little bit. And we're always glad to see him. And Jared, of course, Reyes is with us from freeacad.org. And actually, or freeacad.com. I did not even do that on purpose. Last thing I want to ask you, just real quick, and we'll get to Anarchapulco. I'm really excited to talk about that. I've been asking, I didn't. What are your goals in each city? What are you expecting to do to reach people, teach people, whatever?
So our goals, I mean, like you said, a big part of this trip is just to have a good time. And that's goal number one above us doing anything else. But along the way, just for the fun of it, we're probably going to
doing feral cats.
Along the way, we'll pick up a few cats. I'm going to have my dog with me. So,
maybe you got to feed him something.
I know, right? I was going to say the cats are bigger than my dog, probably. I'm one of those that has like a rodent. That's some people call a dog, and I give it a hoodie, and I give it a name.
You're one of those guys.
Did you buy the dog from John?
No.
He has teacup Yorkies. So.
Is that what they're called? Teacup Yorkies?
Yeah, they're expensive.
But we're just gonna hit up a lot of open mic nights and stuff like that. I mean, go to some meetup groups. We've already found some cool like libertarian or anarchist groups in a lot of the cities we want to go to.
So you're just trying to find groups of people, like-minded people, or are you planning on giving any sort of like?
We want to go to college campuses too, just in cities where we feel like doing it. But we've talked about going to some college campuses and like trying to set up some meetings and whatnot there, and like going to their malls or their fields or whatever, places where we see people gathering and hanging out, and trying to start some fun conversations that way too.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's the sort of thing. We're going to record a lot of it and post it up and get it out there. But
awesome, it's exciting. Maybe we can come back on remotely to talk about some of your experiences and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And
share some videos on our Facebook
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Like I said, number one goal, we're just trying to have a lot of fun and have a good time. But along the way, we're probably going to stop at some open mics and things like that, and try and talk some product, sell some books, but also have a lot of fun with it.
Sounds delicious.
Oh, absolutely.
And the last thing I want to say, by the way, it's not that I, per our previous discussion, it's not that I think I know people's subjective preferences better than they do, although there are general patterns of subjective preferences throughout society that tend to hold, but beyond that, I'm just saying when given more choice and given more resources and time, people tend to have value whatever outcome that is better than the constrained one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to get too off topic with that.
Well, you mind if I throw in my last point?
Go ahead.
So my last point, I guess, was if my argument against the education system as we know it is it doesn't improve human capital very much, which I think is how it's marketed, saying what starts here changes the world for UT, for example, as if you're going to go there and be refined and become this enlightened individual that's going to go on and do all these crazy things that you would have never done before you went there.
But only if you join a secret society, but yes.
I don't think it does that. I don't think it does the human capital. What I think it is it's a really good signal for employers. If we start giving it away for free, that's just going to incentivize a lot of people to go. And then that signal is worthless now because now it's watered down. Everyone has it. So now the new signal is something even more time consuming because it's going to be postgraduate work, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Also, I don't believe in extorting people to pay for this so-called free service. But anyway, that's the main point. I think it's more signal than anything else. And I think right now employers are utilizing this signal because for them it's free. There's so many college graduates out there that's a really easy filter and it costs them nothing to make that a necessary thing. But they could, if we passed it on to business, by stop subsidizing people going to school, they would pay for their own signals, or certain IQ tests or whatever it is. So I just think it's a signal and not human capital. And you can read giving away for free does no good. It actually makes that signal worthless.
Absolutely. And you can read stuff about the signaling. And just real quick, I think it was it might have been Nelson Rockefeller. One or more of the prominent Rockefellers has written books, and others have talked about how they fashioned the education system. The history of Rockefeller money and education is deep and wide.
He says he wanted not thinkers but workers, right?
Basically,
I'm paraphrasing,
but they're basically trying to look for signals that you can be, just smart enough to run the machines, as George Carlin says, but not so smart that you question or protest. But then also too, for a smaller subsection of the population, it's a signaling device kind of for the lower level elites, because call it like obviously the Ivy League. That's how some of the non-elite families become elite or at least become wealthier. They get sort of selected through that, and then probably through secret societies as well. And then of course the CIA has been known to select from colleges as well. So it's also a ground for that. kind of thing. But let's switch gears. Oh, go ahead.
If there's free college, then you don't get to choose what you go to school for.
Exactly. Just like with healthcare. That's a criticism people have done with free healthcare.
I mean, look at Europe where they get free college.
Europe. Yeah, they kind of get chosen for them.
Yeah, they have to take a test when they turn, 17 or 18, like their final year of high school, whatever they call it over there.
I think even sooner, because even in high school, you have to decide, like you have to see what you're good at, and then they'll have you go through one high school.
You take a test, and then that decides what you go to college for. The government's not just going to give away like arts degrees. Like it's a business; they want to make their money back.
And that's true. And in a sense, if the government was going to run it, I can understand maximizing output, minimizing cost. Not that the government's good at that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's a good point. People are,
but you don't have a choice in it. Yeah,
if you're not paying for it, then all of a sudden, less economically rewarding degrees maybe look slightly more attractive, or maybe much more attractive when you didn't have to pay for those degrees to begin with.
Exactly. But let's switch gears. It's a great topic, but I do want to talk about in Acapulco and what happened to us, because
let's do it.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the flyingest of times. It was the drivingest of times.
It was the party on the beach till the sun goes down in a beautiful cove, and it was the getting pulled over by federales.
I wish there was a cove. Well, it was a bay. Yeah, I mean, it feels like a cove.
Well, it looks like a. I only saw.
Well, especially with the buildings. And now you're right. No, it is kind of a cove. I'm sorry, because it is kind of a little bit mountainous in the background, so it feels like you're. Well, it does feel like a cove. I'm sorry.
I saw some sunsets. I mean, I wasn't there, so I saw a lot of.
You weren't there. You didn't see with your own eyes. You don't know.
I didn't see. No,
you did see. No, it was very beautiful. Like, not the prettiest ocean I've ever been to, but
like the water itself,
the water and the sand, but pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty clean, pretty nice. And
how free did you guys feel in Acapulco itself?
Well, that's actually something we wanted to talk about a little bit. Is I mean, obviously, Danny was there for maybe 7 or 8 days. I was there for 4 or 5. But we, one of the things we discussed with someone else who was there, Hector Cubillos, or he goes by Combo. He's got a website.
Did you know him before? Because if you remembered his name,
did.
I was gonna say, if you remembered his name and that was your first time meeting him, this is unheard of.
What do you mean?
For you to retain someone's name the first time?
I have a crappy memory.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying you suck at names. I think you probably have a pretty good memory overall.
Not really, actually. But no, you say it is significant though when you meet someone and you remember their phone like
instantly.
That. Yeah, especially and instantly. Well, we did spend a 20-hour harrowing car ride with him too. So
you guys were on heroin?
Yes.
Really? So Mexico is a stereotype. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, stereotypes are grounded in reality. Hello.
You guys went there and just did heroin the whole time, so you felt pretty free.
Was McAfee there?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, I don't think so. I wish he was. That would have been fun. We would not have come back.
Doing heroin with McAfee?
Well, we would not have come back because you probably would have overdosed. Or
President 2016.
McAfee 2016.
I say that like I would vote even if it was for him. I wouldn't vote anyway. But
I probably would for him if I did.
I might, just because that would be a show worth watching.
It would be.
Can you imagine his State of the Union address and things like that? Like I can't even. And like he would have like 6 first ladies of the White House. You know, like.
And who would need a series inspired by? You would just have a reality show. That would be kind of cool.
Be the first president with the reality show.
Yeah. But so one of the things we talked about with Hector and sort of found out for ourselves through other little bits of information is that while Acapulco, Mexico in general has a reputation for being violent and for having high crime. That is true to some extent. But like all things, you got to look at the context. You have to not paint it in such black and white terms.
Yeah, you can't say all of Mexico is dangerous, because that'd be like saying 2/3 of the U.S. is like unsafe to go to.
Yeah.
Which I think is how people talk about Mexico. They say,
yeah, exactly.
Don't go to Mexico. It's dangerous. And it's like, I haven't even told you where in Mexico I'm going. You can't.
You can just paint a broad brush.
Point, so you might as well wait to the next segment.
Well, okay.
You'll never get your
Danny,
point.
You can talk about it then if I'm not going fast enough for you.
No, I'm just saying it.
Okay, well, anyway, well, that just makes me take longer. So I'm sorry if I'm not quick enough for you, but I go at my own pace that works, that for me. So
I'm not talking about you.
Okay. Well, anyway, whatever. But so Hector Cubillos, he's basically an investigative reporter. He's got his own blog, his own podcast, and he's an activist. Focuses a lot on like sort of Latin American stuff, but he interviewed a lot of people in Acapulco, particularly younger age, like university age people. And he read the newspapers a lot while he was there. And he showed me one of the newspapers, and it talked about some murders that had happened recently. And one of the murders happened on the beach near some of the pricier hotels, and the guy was decapitated. Ooh. And, how often do you see that here, even in the U.S.? I mean, there's some crazy stuff that happens, right? But apparently that's not an uncommon occurrence. Now, that doesn't mean you can just simply take that and say, well, everyone's getting decapitated. But I think what some people have sort of projected about Acapulco as being this really safe place is more of a mixed bag. But we'll talk more about that on the other side. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.
back to the Crypto Show. I think we're going to try to get around to this Anarchapulco story where we had a nice trip down to Anarchapulco, and Chris lost his passport and had to be smuggled back into the country. It got pretty interesting. But did you have any final thoughts on what you were wrapping up?
No. That was basically the last I was trying to get to there.
Alrighty. So anyway, so what happened is Chris ended up landing in Acapulco, and he lost his passport and could not fly back. We tried getting his passport from the embassy and whatever, and that would have taken 5 more days for him to get his passport. And so he ended up riding back with me. And so on the way back, we're going through I think it was Nuevo Leon, and we get accosted by I think it was military intelligence, and they decided that we should have to pay them 500 pesos to go ahead and get past their military stop because we didn't have a certain sticker that they wanted us to have.
What's that in US dollars roughly?
$30. So that was pretty cheap. I mean, basically, I think they based it on there was some cash laying in the front, and it was a little over the 500 pesos. So I think they pretty much just wanted most of our cash.
So you think they change the number every time based on
right? Well, luckily I had the rest of the cash was stashed in another pocket. So
you guys paid them off.
Paid them off so we could get going. It was either that or they were going to take the truck and all of our stuff from us.
And whose truck is it? Is your car?
It's my truck.
You drove it down from the U.S.
Yeah, I drove it down from the U.S., drove it down to Acapulco. On the way down, there was no problems at all because, they don't want to harass the tourists coming in. They want to wait and fleece you until you're on your way back. So
because they assume that's when you have stuff.
Yeah. You've already gone and spent all your money, so now we need to go ahead and take the rest of what you didn't spend.
Yeah.
So that's kind of...
How long is the drive down there?
It was a 24-hour drive, mostly because we got lost for 4 hours. We were told you should take the shortcut around Mexico City. Yeah, it wasn't exactly a shortcut.
Did you guys were saying the tolls are really expensive?
Yeah, it was. I think we spent more on tolls than we did on fuel. It's like, every time you cross a zone or whatever's going on, there's another toll booth, whatever county or whatever it is you're dealing with.
So the toll booths are like linked to it's not to the road itself, it's to like the cities you're passing through? Or?
Well, yeah, they're it's kind of like a county line or something, or a zone, whatever. There's a new toll booth, and sometimes there's just another toll booth right after the previous toll booth.
It seemed to be a mix of both, where it's like he said, where different jurisdictions or whatever will have a toll booth going in, but then we had to stop and kind of ask for directions / we couldn't figure out how to use this one toll, and this Mexican cop showed us a map, and the toll kind of was long and curved left, and it had 6 different further tolls along the way, and he told us to pay at the 6th toll. And so my point is, there seemed to be all sorts of weird logic or lack thereof to the tolls, and they were so expensive. So some tolls cost us $200, $12.
Yeah, 200 pesos for one. Another one would be 35.
Some would be as cheap as 10, but most of them were at least say $5.
Yeah,
and some of them were as much as 12. And repeatedly, and I understand we did drive across most of the country, but still, you think of toll booths usually in major cities that are really densely populated, but these toll booths were constant out in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? They would be so frequent you'd think you were in a metropolis or something.
So total, how much do you guys think you paid in tolls all the way there?
Maybe a round trip. Probably over 100, maybe $200.
At least, round trip, yeah, $200.
Plus gas, it's making flying there really not sound that expensive.
No, it probably would have been better to fly, but I did have a lot of stuff to carry down there, which we did sell most of it for the Free Ross fundraiser.
That's true. How much did we raise? Did you tally it up?
I think it was somewhere around $700. But
really, I thought, wow, I didn't realize it was that much.
And then I have to give 132 back to the store for the shirt to reimburse them for the shirts that they gave us.
Oh, right.
So
that's good.
He gave us a bunch of shirts at cost, so we sold it for the price
for the retail price,
right? But we sold more of the Free Raw shirts than anything, so all of that money went to it. So
right,
yeah.
Well, that was really nice of John Bush over at Brave New Books to do that, and that's a lot of money. I mean, even minus the shirt cost, is still good $600 or whatever.
Right.
What was I going to say? There's something important about the tolls. I mean, $200. Oh, and the gas, by the way, our friend Jose Rodriguez from Bitso, which is a Bitcoin exchange. Said Bitcoin one more time, good.
Right.
It was with us, and he drove with us from Acapulco to Mexico City. And that's, what was it, a couple hours, 3 hours, something like that. A relatively short stretch. But anyway,
Well, 5 hours. But
Oh God, was it 5 hours?
Yeah.
It just seemed so short.
Mexico City to Acapulco?
yeah.
Acapulco to Mexico City. Sorry.
Yeah, that's 5 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So the bus ride that Jeff Berwick and them were recommending, you fly to Mexico City and then you take a 5-hour bus ride?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The bus ride's
honestly,
like
But I know it's way cheaper. It's like, I mean, we looked at the prices. It was well worth it. I just didn't realize. I thought it was like a 3-hour ride.
no, I know that's kind of stretching it, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is though that when you fly, especially if you get cheap tickets, like I got a cheap ticket. Well, relatively, I waited till kind of the last minute, but it was cheap. I had to go to Houston to Mexico City, Acapulco.
Yeah.
And my layovers were like at least a couple hours each.
Yeah.
So you're almost better off avoiding taking a direct flight to Mexico City and avoiding the extra layover, or it kind of evens out. You know what I mean? So, I was going to say, Jose Rodriguez told us that the Mexican government controls the price of gas, and because gas prices globally are so low, Mexico's are actually really high because they put a floor under it. They have like a cap to it if it's too high, but they kind of also have a floor to it. So gas in Mexico is way expensive. Like I filled up half his tank and it was like, he's got a big truck, but I filled up half his tank at one point, chip in for the gas, and it was just like an ungodly amount. So,
And they sell it in like liters and pesos, right? So it's a little hard to just
well,
look at the sign and like $800 for gas.
I mean, it certainly seems really expensive, and it is once you get it though. Obviously, like seeing that big number inflates the sense of how expensive it is. Yeah. But I mean, the conversion rate's not too hard. Just divide by 15, divide by 20. 18 is really how much it is, per pesos per dollar. And it's, you just get a rough estimate for how much it is. And it's not, you get used to kind of multiple dividing like that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was crazy. And, I don't know how much y'all got into it, before I got back. And that's the last time I should be late on the break, by the way.
A little bit. We got into a little bit of the extortion and, how that went down. It was kind of scary, but at the same time, it really helped us because, when we went across the border, Chris didn't have his passport, and so what I told the border patrol agent is, you're not going to believe what happened to his passport, and she's like, okay, try me. So so the Mexican military extorted me for $500, and she's like, $500? I'm like, yeah, sure.
It was really 500 pesos.
It was 500. They extorted us for 500 pesos. She said $500. I'm like, yeah, that's it. And then I told her, and they took his passport because he refused to pay them. And she goes like, oh, I believe you. It happens all the time.
And she didn't just say it like that. Like, I can't even reproduce it, but it was almost like out of a movie. She was like, oh, I totally believe you. That totally happens all the time. Like this look on her face, like, I'm not surprised. Yep, there's another one today.
Yeah.
Like it was such a relief. Like, wait, what? Like you're buying the story? There's no other story we could have told her that she would have believed more. And thank God, because like Danny and our friend Hector had kind of come up with that, and I think Danny specifically, but I was skeptical, and partly because I'm always like terrified of everything, especially when it involves lying because I'm not good at it. And I just thought we should go with, I lost it just coming off the plane. But it turns out that was the best thing we could have said, and I'm really glad they came up with that.
Yeah, because she felt sorry for us that we just got robbed for $500 from the federales. And so she totally believed it. And what was even worse about all this is we're traveling with a Mexican national who doesn't have a passport. All he has is a green card, but he's not required to have a passport. What the hell is wrong with this country? I'm born here.
Wait, he can come over?
He can come over with no passport, but we're required to show a passport. What the hell is wrong with that picture? I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Brown privilege.
Brown privilege. It is brown privilege.
Yeah, but you promised to throw in pepper in a little bit of racism.
Well,
there we go.
I mean, so it was. It started out as a joke. So Hector was kind of hanging out with us the whole time, and when Chris lost his passport, he was just all upset and just afraid, scared to death. And so we asked Hector, "Well, how are you going to get in with your passport?" And he's, "Passport? I don't need a passport." So the next, So out of that, the joke comes up of, oh man, yeah, it's brown privilege. So it was just kind of an ongoing joke.
By the way, I only joined in on the joke after the 500th time that Danny had made the joke.
Right.
So I wasn't quite as racist as Danny was.
You abstained for a while, but then you couldn't help it. Apparently,
I couldn't resist after a time. It just became too good. Even Hector got a kick out of it.
So you're saying the joke got better after 500 times?
Yeah, somehow it did. It was like a fine scotch or something. Like the more it aged, the better it got. No, but Hector was a good sport about it. But it is. I mean, and this isn't. Don't take this the wrong way. It's not a comment on immigration per se by any means. I mean, Danny and I are both pretty pro immigration, properly understood. Walter Block had some interesting stuff on that. But it was still weird. I mean, maybe a green card is the equivalent of a passport, I guess. But in reality, to me, a green card would be the equivalent of like my driver's license, and yet they require something. a higher level document from me than from him. It was kind of interesting, like, and a bit sort of out of whack. What was also weird is the first thing she asked for wasn't for passports, wasn't for government issued IDs. It was for birth certificates, which
why would you carry your birth certificate?
Why would that be the first thing you think people are going to travel with?
I don't know. And maybe there's some on the website somewhere that says if you go to Mexico and want to get past Border Patrol again, you have to have your birth certificate. I don't know. But that was literally the first thing she asked for from us.
If they're trying to keep out terrorists and, a foreign person is needing less documentation, it seems more like they're trying to invite a terrorist, not keep one out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the government has long invited or created terrorists, so
we're tired of doing it ourselves. We need to import some.
They're outsourcing the terrorist acts. The government can't afford it anymore, so they have to get third world countries to do it. Well, we're coming to break with Jared Reyes of freeacad.com. I got it right.
Yay.
Got it right. And we'll talk more about Anarchapulco and other things on the other side. Stay tuned.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
For the longest time. For the longest. If you said that Bitcoin was my life, I would tell you.
Show enough. Show you right.
What else can I do? I'm so inspired by you, and I'm just holding for the longest time. Once I knew my stocks and bonds were gone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show. It's the lovely sounds of Zhao Tong, ZHOUTONGED. And you can go to that website, zhaotong.com, ZHOUTONGED. He's a great satirist. Well, probably not even that. Satire often implies a negative portrayal of song lyrics or whatever, but he's really more of a spoof artist. Takes popular songs and with his great vocals and great lyrical genius creates Bitcoin songs that are spoofs of popular songs. So check him out. We're talking with Jared Reyes of freeacad.com and also talking about Anarchapulco. And just real quick, I want to mention something Jared said off air. As a parallel to our experience, the green card versus the what do you call it? The passport. I can't think tonight. Where they expect the passport from the American citizen and expect a lesser document, presumably anyway, from a non-American citizen. And again, this is not comment on immigration, but it was still just weird. Jared, tell us about what happens at the Capitol.
Yes, at the state capitol here in Texas. So you go to the Capitol in Austin. To enter the building, you have to go, if you have your concealed handgun license, your CHL, you go to the little, I don't know what they're called, maybe they're state troopers or whoever. I think they're state troopers. You go up to them, you show them their license, they let you right in. And they assume you have a weapon, they let you right in. If you don't have a CHL license with you, you wait in a line that sometimes is lengthy, or you walk through a metal detector. And the point is, if you have your CHL, you get whisked right through, no big deal. Have free reign of the Capitol with your weapon on you. But if you don't have your CHL, you have to go through this process where they try and figure out if you have a weapon. And it's a bigger hassle. It's the passport of immigration, where the person who probably doesn't have a weapon has a much bigger hassle to get into the Capitol than the person who's saying, yeah, I definitely have a weapon on me.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point is if you're trying to prevent or monitor someone with a weapon, it would be the people who definitely have them, not who may not have them, because then the probability is lower. It's the reverse of what you'd expect. And what's funny is I know CHLs are supposed to they're responsible. They went through classes. Maybe there's a selection bias or a selection effect rather, where people who get CHLs, they're naturally responsible anyway. But if anything, if you wanted to go shoot up the Capitol or something, and obviously I hope that doesn't happen, a smart criminal would get a CHL so they could just have free reign like that.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's just it's very logically or at least intuitively backwards.
Yeah, it's kind of thing. It's so weird, but that's government for you. And so when we got back, I remember when we got back, Danny was the first thing he wanted to do, and I understood it after us getting highway robbed both by the tolls and the military police, but get some of his money back in the little pesos that we had left. And I could tell it was symbolic too. It was like screw you Mexican police, screw you Mexican tolls. I'm getting the remnants of my money back, and not in pesos, I'm getting my dollars. And it was kind of a relief in a way. It was kind of it felt good to it was a reminder that we were back when he exchanged that. We found a little conversion place. Casa de Cambio, exactly.
So can I ask a question about y'all's overall feel though?
It was it was great. I mean, you're inside, I guess inside the bubble of Acapulco, it's relatively safe. You have kind of the Costera, the little road that goes there. And I would say, several blocks beyond that, you're pretty safe. And if you're heading over towards the richer neighborhoods, you're probably safe. But they say don't go over that mountain. It can be dangerous. And I think maybe even more so by the police. At one stoplight, man, I'm sitting at a stoplight in my truck, and some motorcycle cop comes by and clips my front fender with his motorcycle.
Oh, that's right.
He didn't really do any damage, but he just looked back at me and just gave me a look and burned off. So I got hit and run by the police in Acapulco.
And typically by convention or by law, if you have any contact between vehicles, that's considered
an accident.
It's basically an accident. Like you have to stop and check and possibly exchange numbers, or at least stop and check. And so, the cop just poop.
Yeah, he just gave me a look like,
what are you going to do?
Right? I'm not going to chase him down. That's for sure. I'm just glad he left me alone.
I know, right?
I wonder because, so I have a couple buddies that are expats from the U.S. They now live in Mexico, Mazatlan being the place that they live. And then just hearing Jeff Berwick talk about his time in Acapulco, that claims that both, I don't know, for my expat friends that are in Mexico and Jeff Berwick being someone I don't know, but a public figure, their claims tend to be that, it can be dangerous, but in general, you do what you want, and every now and then you interact with the cop and you bribe them, a small bribe, whatever, and you usually go about your day. And their general feeling is that if you have your wits about you, overall they feel far more free. But I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
There's another guy there named Jamie, and apparently he's had a few run-ins with the police because he gets drunk and I guess doesn't know what to say. But he generally just pays a fine. I think the last one where he was actually arrested, he paid like $10 fine.
And then he's not arrested anymore. He's back.
They let him
to
go.
His life.
Yeah.
So, I mean that's the weird thing. It's like I know that there's definitely dangerous parts. There's dangerous parts of the U.S. too.
Yeah,
though, but more dangerous.
If you get arrested here, you could potentially lose everything you own because you could end up in jail for months upon months. And
That's
just
true.
If you're a homeowner or something, you're screwed because you'll lose it. You'll lose it all.
And
you can't afford the bond. Where there $10 you get out.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing. It's like they might rob you up front kind of heavily, but, heavily.
But you know what you're getting into on the front end.
Exactly. And whereas here, it's like, you could, even if you have your house paid off, if let's say your property taxes have come due and you're just sitting in jail for weeks or months on end and you lose your job, you lose your house. And of course, they have the civil asset forfeiture here is so heavy.
Yeah.
Maybe they have an equivalent there. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I think that is the bribe, right? They're going to pull up on you. And if you have a ton of cash, I bet that bribe's a lot more to get away. It's probably kind of the same.
But, we also have another friend that we went and visited there that she moved down there last year. And apparently her husband had a gun stuck to him. One of the locals, a little thug, had actually pulled a gun on him and wanted his computer back. And apparently they knew the right phrase. They were able to yell in Spanish, "I'm protected," meaning that if you mess with me, you mess with the cartel. So,
and the guy
left him alone. So they averted robbery by saying, "I'm protected by the cartel." Whether they were or not, I don't know.
Yeah, but
But it was scary enough for the kid. Like, I'm not messing with him.
It's not worth it.
It sounded like the kid. Anyone with a gun, you should be very careful with. It sounded like the kid was, a young punk who probably wasn't as certain himself about what he wanted to do. But nonetheless, it was clear that was an effective way to deter someone. And in fact, our friend Hector also said that. Similarly, even with like the police when they shake you down or the military guys along the highway, they run the risk of shaking down someone who's connected to the cartel. And so the guys who got us were in plain clothes, and I had wondered about that. And at first I was like, is this a scam? Are they really not police or military? But then I looked over and there were some like guys dressed in military garb with big guns. So they were clearly part of the checkpoint. But Hector was like, well, one of the reasons they do it in plain clothes is so they can't see your name or military number or identifying stuff, because so that way if you pull over someone connected to the cartel, it's harder for them to get retaliation on you. But that's a risk they run, and that's how deep the cartel runs. Is Hector told us this, but he wasn't the only one while we were down there. The cartel, especially like in Acapulco, for instance, everyone knows someone who's in the cartel, connected in some way, and the cartel has its fingers in everything, and they have in fact. Real quick, I want to say, Hector told me that when he was at the conference, he noticed a Mexican dude come up and like kind of look around, and he talked to Hector, and Hector got a real vibe that he was like a cartel spy. And we did hear from a couple people, or I did, that the cartel, they keep watching on what goes on. And I believe Tactor. I mean, he's an honest guy. It's not like I didn't trust his judgment. But, you think, well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But then I had the same experience. There was this Mexican dude, did not look like he belonged, did not look like he was wealthy enough to afford the hotel, was just kind of looking. And then he talked to me on the elevator, like not interrogating me, but asking me too much personal stuff while being friendly at the same time. I totally got the same vibe that he was some sort of cartel spy or something. It was weird. But we'll be right back with Jerry Reyes talking about Acapulco here in a second.
A string of burglaries in Torrance, California had the police scratching their heads until they raided a motel and nabbed the perpetrator, a fragile 82-year-old woman. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, back with the tale of the blue-haired burglar after this.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Doris Ann Gamble had a 21-page rap sheet. She'd been arrested in connection with a homicide, gone to jail 9 times, and used at least 25 aliases. At 82, you'd think Gamble might retire, but no. Police recently busted her for burglarizing 8 doctor's offices in California. The frail elderly woman would hide in the doctor's offices after being seen. When the staff went home, she'd raid the cash boxes, netting over $17,000. At her sentencing, she told detectives she wouldn't do all this nonsense if the government gave us more money. Then she asked the court for donations to buy snacks in jail. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
Actually be kidding about chemtrails.
You're listening to the Logos Radio Network at logosradionetwork.com.
I've been walking a tightrope between fact and fiction. Been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons. Been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian, but shouting at leaders who claim to be listening. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the need for the fight.
Welcome back, guys. And this is the Crypto Show, of course, on this lovely February 24th, 2016, a Wednesday. And we're talking about Acapulco, our fun, crazy, happy, sad experiences there. And something we were talking about over break that Danny wanted me to bring up, which I think is appropriate. Well, it's really just a continuation of what we were talking about, is the fact that the feeling we got from people who knew is that when you deal with the cartel, and probably this is more directly and maybe more frequently or whatever, there's the potential for you to eventually pay for whatever services the cartel may do for you. And obviously I'm sure that could include in the extreme and rare cases, you got to go kill somebody or whatever, but it wasn't elaborated exactly what that could be, but you can guess because it's probably similar to all the stuff you've ever heard about, like mafias or other, or just drug cartels in general. Drop off some money to somewhere, this package, don't, and just leave. No questions asked.
Well, I mean, the story we heard from the expat was that, the cartel was looking out for him or whatever. But then what Hector told us is that, well, if they are protecting you, at some point that payment becomes due and they may ask you to do something, like you said.
You got to pay the piper,
that could be potentially dangerous.
Well, and not just potentially dangerous, but, you got to factor that in if you're considering moving down to Acapulco. I can't even pronounce it after the conference.
Yeah, you just want to say Acapulco every time.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, we met people down there who seem really happy, who seem to feel really safe. Now, admittedly, they've maybe not been there super long, no more than, say, a year or two in some cases, or just a few months. But
you just need to get down there and learn the ins and outs before you put yourself in a dangerous position.
Exactly.
I mean, the same thing can happen here. I mean, you could get in an argument with a family member, and the neighbor might call a cop, and your dog is dead.
Yeah.
Or you're dead.
Yes.
Or you're dead.
If I'd at the bar, whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely dangerous neighborhoods in the U.S. too. But yeah, I guess the thing is you just have to be a little more
alert and informed,
Yeah, you have to be on your game a little bit more when you visit is kind of the theme you guys got. But overall felt generally safe walking around.
Oh, yeah.
You just kind of stayed, don't go past this street, that sort of thing.
But again, we were in a better part of town and, we didn't go that far per se on foot. So it's not always hard to, our personal experience was kind of limited, but I mean, it was safe. I mean, like for instance, when they talk about Mexico City being unsafe, I was in Mexico City like 3 years ago and traveled around for a good couple days while we were there. Never felt unsafe. We walked the streets at night for hours actually, and just randomly. And but even statistically, Mexico City is safer than like Washington D.C. and Chicago. So you got to put it in perspective too. And the thing is too, you got the sense that, and this just could be my imagination, but I feel like there's some truth to it. In Acapulco, and I feel this is true in other parts of Mexico, and I've been to other parts of Mexico, it's not so much, if the people aren't connected to the cartel, of course there's random regular crime.
Mm-hmm.
People though are pretty safe and nice and aren't going to mess with you. It's just if you are connected to the cartel. In the same way that historically, and obviously still today, but maybe a little less so than say back in the 80s or 90s, in cities where gang violence was very prevalent, where did most of the violence come from? It came from gangs.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't connected to the gang, you probably weren't. Crime was relatively rare because the gangs fostered it. And in fact, as part of being part of the gang, that you would go through hazing, they would have you kill someone or they'd have you rob a store. So you were forced to commit a crime to be a part of the gang.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they have that blackmail on you or you have that record. And so you're just that much more inclined to commit crime. I think it's the same in Acapulco in Mexico where, if you can stay away from the cartel, which again, in a way is hard to do, things aren't so bad. But, you just have to do your research and keep in mind, like, while some very good people that we know who are down there say, it's like a fabulous paradise, there's elements of truth to that, absolutely. But at the same time, their experience might be different from yours.
Yeah.
Or from a lot of other people. So,
because the idea of expatting to a place that in most of the U.S.'s view would be less developed than the U.S., which I'm not certain that's how I would want to look at it. But from that standpoint, it's been attractive to me because that's usually where you find what I would consider to be more freedom. And so it's an interesting topic for me. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a little bit of fear that goes along with that idea to expat and move to what many would consider to be less developed countries for the sake of the freedom. So I'm always curious when people go to some of the countries that, I know people that have expated, what their experience was, how'd they feel generally. But yeah, I know it was a short stint for you guys, but
still, we got some good, information from people who've been there a lot longer, and the freedom too is partly economic. Like, you probably pay fewer taxes. You could, in some respects, it might be easier to start a business. You definitely have a better exchange rate. So if you have American income coming in,
when you're going to a nice restaurant, and having a big meal and several beers and a few margaritas, and it's under $10. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was insane. Like Danny and I, it was a hole in the wall, admittedly, but we had 2 bistec a la mexicanas with rice and beans and like endless tortillas and a fideo soup. And I think there was even something else.
Some drinks and coffee.
Drinks. And it was like with tip. I left her a 25% tip. It was $9 for the both of us combined. I was like, Danny, this one's on me.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't, you said more economic freedom. I don't want to sweep that under the rug. That's a big deal. The economic freedom is.
Well, it is, but it's one side of the coin too. So.
If you're able to work online and do something online, and you're living there. Our friend there, she has a 3-bedroom apartment.
It was 3
beautiful,
bedrooms.
like on the 5th floor, overlooks the whole bay with a pool downstairs, elevator.
Like big glass windows everywhere. Yeah,
and she's making
$300 a month.
$300 a month for a 3-bedroom, like. Not ultra luxury, but nice apartment. All the stuff he just said, and they have a jacuzzi inside too, built in. $300 a month. That's like nuts. You can't.
In Austin, if you're 3 bedrooms, that's
300.
What is that? 1,800, even in a not even the one of the most sought after parts of town for a 3-bedroom.
You might be lucky to get it for like 1,600 in some lesser part of town. You might be. My 2-bedroom last year. I split it with 3 other people. Was like. 1,100 or something like that. It's crazy. And then what was the other amenity to it?
So if you can find a way to make U.S. dollars while living in Mexico, you're gonna probably do pretty well.
Or just get paid period online. Whether it's Bitcoin. Some of the people there are working with companies inside the U.S. and having them pay them in Bitcoin, so they can just shoot it over there, and then you get the little card, eCoin card, and
they're
or a Shift card.
Probably not paying like all the taxes and stuff associated with that employee too, huh?
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The U.S. business isn't.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to make a joke, which is to live in the U.S. for $300 a month, you'd be living in your car, like your car payment.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, the van.
That's a cheap car.
That's a cheap car.
That's half of what my truck payment was.
I spent $1,900 on the van that ideally makes it all the way aroron the U.S. in 2 days. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's running good so far, but we'll see.
Do you have anything saved up just in case it breaks down, or?
I have some savings, but it's more like, if it's not worth it, we'll just call it a wrap and fly home from there or fly to the next spot. That's the cool thing is like none of us have deadlines or specific things to get back to. So we're kind of just winging it. And if it breaks down, which totally could happen, wouldn't shock any of us. Then we'll figure it out in whatever city we're in. and either hang out there for a while or fly to a new city or fly
You can
home.
mega bus it. They're not all $1 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
you got to be booked out a little bit to get $1. But yeah, they're
But still.
affordable. I wanted to do a megabus trip throughout the U.S. for about a year now. The thing is, where whatever city you're in, they each, you can't go anywhere that megabus goes.
Right.
Each city, you're limited to, let's say, three options or whatever. But in the East Coast, there's a lot more options. So if we get trapped, which is where we're going first, if the van breaks down pretty quickly, we probably have a lot of options there.
That's smart. And in the East Coast too, they got trains and stuff to take you between states and cities and stuff.
Especially if we get up, near the original colonies and whatnot. That there's a lot easier to get around up there if something happens.
You can always hitchhike.
But yeah, or we'll hitchhike. Yeah, we're not
jump on
above
a train.
Yeah, Mike and I wanted to do that for a while. I think he did it in Houston once. You just got to be totally game for wherever the train's going.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I knew a guy who was doing it until recently, and then he got beat up. All that could happen to you anywhere. But we're coming to break. We'll talk more about stuff on the Crypto Show on the other side. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Easy.
All right, guys, welcome back to the final segment of the Crypto Show. We're talking with Jared Reyes of freeacad.com, and Jared is about to go on a trek across the United States in his van with some other people, spreading the word about what real education is all about and free thinking. And we laud him for his efforts and his drive, so to speak. And, you like that?
Yeah.
Thanks. And we're excited to hear about his adventures. We'll probably have him on in the coming weeks to hear about what's been going on with him while he's on the road. But we're finishing talking up about in Acapulco. One thing I wanted to mention were some of the speakers. There were some really good ones. Now, unfortunately, because we were really busy interviewing people and doing other stuff relevant to the show and our own and to the fundraiser for Ross and to our own participation in the conference, we missed a lot of speakers, unfortunately. But we caught some. We caught quite a few, I'd say, and at least good portions of them. My favorite would probably be Walter Block. He's an economist and professor at.
I know who Walter Block. I was wondering why that name rang a bell.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, he's a big libertarian. He talks about. He's got a book about the roads, and he does a really good job with the roads talk.
And that's what he's sort of famous for, and distinguishes him is
that interview will be coming soon, attached to one of our episodes.
Yeah, thanks for sending me that picture, by the way. Was that from Hector?
Oh, no, I took that.
Oh, you did? I didn't realize that. Okay,
man,
cool.
That's so cool that he was there. I got attached to him like on the hip, and what I mean is I watched like 1,000 YouTube videos by him, and I don't know him at all. But
we might let you listen to an early preview.
There you go. Ooh. So I got to interview him. And he talked about, and this is basically mostly what we talked about in the interview was just kind of him recapping what he had talked about on stage. Talked about abortion, his libertarian view on abortion, and I have to admit, it is the most consistent view I've ever heard on the abortion issue. It's sort of a compromise position, and not compromise in the sense of, one thing I hate is when people confuse the two different kinds of compromise. There's compromising in a relationship to get along and to be reciprocal. And then there's compromising logically where you cede ground on an argument, not because you've lost logically, but just to get along with the crowd, which a lot of people expect other people to do. And that's unacceptable. Like I used to hate it when people would say that sort of stuff. Well, you should just compromise. And that's not how logic works. Anyway, but when I say compromise is he finds the middle ground through logic that happens to show where both sides are kind of right and kind of wrong. Anyway, but he talked about that, talked about immigration, his particular take on it. And talked about how he apparently went to school with Bernie Sanders, interestingly enough.
Really?
Yeah. And he used to be, like a lot of the actual Austrian economists back in the day, he used to be communist and socialist growing up and kind of into young adulthood. And then through various experiences became, libertarian. Yeah. Rothbard was the same way.
He's got some good talks on YouTube for anyone who wants to check him out on minimum wage too, which is, just so relevant right now with the Bernie and Hillary campaign. Well, mainly the Bernie campaign.
Feel the burn.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, he's got lots of great stuff on YouTube. He's done.
Oh, yeah.
And he likes debates, which some professors stray away. He likes debates. So I
know he's full on. And he is, what's so great is he's so brilliant, straightforward, no ego, very unpretentious guy, but willing to debate and very friendly about it. Just a great guy. So, but abortion, immigration, I can't remember the third thing. He did talk about Hayekian triangles, which I know what they are. I've never actually read Prices in Production, but Hayek explains the business cycle using these triangle graphs, basically. And he wrote a book basically detailing 14 points that are wrong with Hayek's triangles, and he gave a talk on that. But anyway, so your friend Michael Fielding gave a talk on his book and his experiences. Quickly describe what his experiences were for us.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best. I hope this is kid friendly and mother approved, and that he approves. But basically, he's got a book out right now that he's selling called Sailboat Diaries, and it's in chronological order, all dated, and it's a combination of adventure stories and philosophical musings that took place over about a 3-year period post him graduating from UT. And it includes him buying a sailboat, him living on it, and then me and some other people accompanying him on a big trip from Kima or he started from there with some buddies, and long story short, ended up in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and lived there for a while. Then he came back.
Not the Virgin Islands anymore.
And they came back and did some other things, ended up moving into some woods, squatting in some woods in Houston, and then he and I both squatted in some woods here in Austin for about a 5-month period. Et cetera, et cetera. So it's a story of these adventures. And then, like I said, a lot of philosophical musings are peppered in there where he talks about some ideologies or philosophies that he's interested in or believes in. And the book's, all those things put together, basically. Oh, one other cool thing. It's got QR codes throughout. So if you buy the book, you can scan the QR code as you read it, and it'll bring up pictures or videos.
Oh, yeah, you did mention that. Yeah. That's right. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's a really cool. I'm sure someone else had thought of it before, but we hadn't heard of anyone. So I thought that was a really awesome idea.
If someone's thought of it, it's still not that common. So it's still a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Really awesome, because there's some cool, sailing videos where we're in bad storms, and he talks about it, and then you can click and watch the video of the bad storm.
You click, and then the Enya song comes up. Sail away, sail away, sail away.
I can't remember who it's by.
It's Enya.
No, there's this.
No. It's Enya.
It's Enya. No, while we were on the trip is when the song Sail. You know what I'm saying?
Live Nation.
ADD, baby.
Yeah, there we go.
Who is it?
I think it's AWOL Nation.
You're right, AWOL Nation. Yeah. That's what it is.
That was hot when we were on the trip.
How do I know this and you guys don't?
I know, it's embarrassing.
You're old.
Yes, I mean, you got you're old and you got the Mexican tan to prove it.
No, I actually like that song. But
it is a great song. Actually, I used to get obsessed with it when it came on the radio.
We wanted to do like a slideshow to that song because it was hot at the time. It was so relevant, and the beat would I could picture
the beat was really great, inspirational / just great for any kind of creative thing you could come up with. I'm sure you've seen real quick the cat video with the AWOL Nation song.
No.
Well, there's this cat that's like crawling along like a ledge, like on like a stone ledge, and like he's kind of just creeping along, and then the song kind of starts, and then it goes sail, right? And right when the cat says sail, the cat like suddenly just jumps off like really like ferociously,
like panics, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so I think I've seen the cat video, but I hadn't seen it paired with that song.
It was. I don't see what's the point without it being paired with that. It's really good. The timing and it's so appropriate. But anyway,
yeah, that's what my buddy Michael Fielding's book, Sailboat Diaries, and he talked about his experience. I think he got a 30-minute time slot at Anarchapulco and talked about just his journeys and whatnot, and some of his beliefs. And we talked a little bit about what he spoke about, but to get the full details on his actual talk, I was waiting for the recordings to be up.
Well, you can. This should be up soon, and you can actually watch them on Watch My Bit. If you weren't an attendee, if you were an attendee, you get to watch it for free. If you weren't, you'll pay some nominal fee that you pay in Bitcoin to see it. It's a really cool platform.
Let's Watch My Bit.
And we actually had one loaded. Roger Ver and Joby Weeks were debating the legitimacy of some, I don't know, scam, in my opinion, as a scam.
That was a great, yeah. Danny actually hosted that by himself. He did a great job. Not that I
like as a mediator, were you the mediator?
So the guy, yeah. Well, I had something to say about it as well. I think it's a huge scam myself, but
so it's cloud mining ish.
It's
supposedly
cloud mining meets MLM meets. I don't know.
Well, I was at least open minded. I mean, I know Danny had his skepticism, and I will lean towards that because I trust Danny in his judgment and research. But after hearing the interview, and no offense to Joby, I like Joby a lot. He threw out some numbers that immediately indicated that there might be something to worry about, but who knows? Well, time will tell, and hopefully there isn't anything to worry about. But anyway, so
I'm not putting my money on it.
I'm not either.
You're talking about cash flow problems, right?
But so the guy that runs Watch My Bit was there in the room editing, and he immediately jumped up and grabbed his camera and started filming the whole thing. And we put it up on Watch My Bit, and when Roger decided that he was going to get 25%, the guy offered him 25%, 15 goes to Anarchapulco, and then 60 goes to the Crypto Show. So we donated ours to freeross.org, and Roger donated his to FEE, which is
the
Freedom Electronic Education.
Something like that, yeah, I can't remember.
So, after Roger donated his, so I went ahead and donated ours too.
Which was a great thing.
And it's already made like $17.
But here's the thing. $17 was made off of 26 views?
Yeah.
26 views. What was the Watch My Bit guy
do
again?
That on YouTube. Doug Scribner.
Sorry, Doug Scribner. Great guy.
do that?
Well, we'll tell you in a second. Doug told us to make that equivalent on YouTube, you would have to have at least 10,000 views. And think about that. With Watch My Bit, 26 views got us the same as 10,000 views. And because the way it's set up, so much more goes to the content creator.
Well, so it generates a QR code, and you pay to watch it. It's 80. He priced it at 89 cents to watch it. So if you don't get enough hits after a few days or a few weeks, you just lower the price a little bit.
Yeah, you find that sweet spot.
Right.
My buddy Jeff Rodriguez, he's doing some 3D gun work. You might have seen him. He's making the 3D printed, I think, shotgun is what he's been working on. But anyway, not all 3D printed. He's trying to make it to where you could buy whatever you can buy at a hardware store, plus you print the rest.
I see.
So
that's really
his thing.
genius.
So anyone can still make it, but it's not all 3D printed. But anyway, I think he actually posted a video just a couple days ago showing like he paid 25 cents to view some YouTube person that is now going on Watch My Bit. I think it was Watch My Bit because he paid in Bitcoin.
It probably, that's what it is.
And it's like this little thing pops up in the middle. I mean, this is kind of generic sounding, but it just says to watch.
Well, I haven't actually gone through the process. Probably, so I can't confirm that. But it's all that sounds.
Is it pay per view, right? So
it was almost certainly Watch My Bit. But it's an ingenious business or model, and honestly, we're going to start utilizing it for the crypto show because, it's just a great way to make extra cash without having to command the numbers that you would on YouTube. Well, we're coming to the end. We got 36 seconds left. Maybe we'll throw in some more about Anarchapulco next show. Jared Reyes from freeacad.com. Thank you so much for being with us. Good luck on your trip. And will you be back on in a few weeks or whatever to tell us how it's going?
Yeah, whenever. And, all the guys I'll be with, including Michael, and there's some other guys that I'm sure.
Yeah, we can have them on too. That would be great. Awesome. And we'll check out anarchapulco.com and Watch My Bit. And we'll see you guys pretty soon. And we'll be on Ernie Hancock Show tomorrow morning.